Coming up on Talking Points, House Republicans get their embattled SAVE Act passed. We'll break down the future of the legislation as it heads across the Capitol.
Plus, the debate on daylight savings. Conversations in the Senate over which way to freeze the clocks.
And the Trump administration continues to shake up the federal government with their immigration policies. How the Social Security Administration is changing their process. All that and more. Talking Points starts right now. The House passed a new voter registration bill last week that's drawing ire as it hits the Senate. Welcome into Talking Points. I'm Jake Morel.
And I'm Ronnie Parrillo. Great to be with you tonight, Jake. Here to explain what this new bill requires tonight is our own Ethan Kraut. Ethan?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Republican supporters of the bill say it is a necessary step to protect election security from non-citizens voting, something already illegal and statistically very rare. Let's take a look at what is in the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or the SAVE Act. The bill requires those registering to vote or changing their registration to show up in person to an election office with documents proving their citizenship. For most Americans, this would include a passport or birth certificate. This would also mean that driver's licenses, the most popular form of photo ID, would not be enough anymore on its own. Now, these changes can make it more difficult for tens of millions of Americans to update their registration. Voters would need to update their registration and go in person to do so when they change their party affiliation, or they change their name, or when they move. This could also eliminate voter registration drives, which have been especially effective on college campuses, including right here in Syracuse. It also could threaten online and mail-in registration, which were used by 11 million Americans in the 2022 midterms. People in rural areas or with disabilities without a reliable use of transportation would also find it much more difficult to appear in person to register to vote. Guys?
Now, Ethan, which groups would be most impacted by the SAVE Act?
Yeah, so the group that will be the most impacted by far is married women. There's about 70 million married women in the country who changed their last name to match their husbands when they got married. Now, because of this, they do not have a valid birth certificate with their current legal name. Now, when you couple that with the fact that 50% of Americans don't have a valid passport, that would mean that you'll see tens of millions of American women who are married lose their ability to register to vote, despite the fact that they've been citizens their entire life and have been and have been voting before.
Ethan, I think it's important to remember that this is all conditional right now. The House worked for a while to get this passed, but they're going to need 60 votes in the Senate to break the filibuster. There are not 60 Republican senators. Does this have any chance of passing and hitting Trump's desk?
Yeah, so this bill actually was passed through the House last year in 2024, it did not get a vote in the Democrat-led Senate. This time in the Republican Senate, as you mentioned, they will need 60 votes to break the filibuster, meaning that they would need 7 Democrat votes to go along with all Republicans. Now, as of now, it seems unlikely that they'll reach that 7-vote number from Democrats that is needed. And as of now also, it seems unlikely that this vote will even be taken up in the Senate because it does not have the votes to pass. Guys?
All right, Ethan, thank you so much. Well, there's a debate on Capitol Hill on whether the U.S. will continue to change the clocks or if daylight savings will be a thing of the past. Our analyst Teaghan Brostrom breaks down the hearing. Hey, Teaghan.
Hey, Ronnie. Thursday's hearing provided an opportunity for senators to hear from experts and then discuss whether the U.S. should lock the clock. A central focus of the hearing was the Sunshine Protection Act, legislation that would make daylight savings time permanent and eliminate clock changing. Most Americans want one time standard, but the argument remains in which time frame to stick with, standard or daylight savings time. Legislators from both sides of the aisle were on either sides of the argument. Doctors say that the standard time is the healthiest option for Americans. A University of Massachusetts neurology professor spoke to the sleep aspect.
Think about how much better you feel and function after a good night's sleep. Permanent standard time would give more Americans to get the opportunity to improve their sleep without even trying.
Johnson provided data against daylight savings time, saying it disrupts people's circadian rhythm, especially those of children and teenagers. With the lack of sleep comes an increase to chronic diseases like cancer and stroke, and the increase of sunlight, she says, is not going to cure obesity or depression. On the other side, Florida Senator Rick Scott, the creator of the Sunshine Protection Act, emphasized the importance of that extra hour of sunlight.
The American people love having an extra hour of sunlight, especially in my state of Florida, where that means more time you can enjoy outdoors and activities with families.
CEO of the National Golf Course Owners Association agreed with that, saying daylight savings time, Americans prefer evening recreation over morning recreation. He said switching to standard time could cost the average public golf course 7 to 8% of their annual public revenue. President Donald Trump has made his position on this topic clear. He's urging Congress to make daylight savings time permanent. He posted on his Truth Social account on Friday saying, quote, "The House and Senate should push hard for more daylight and at the end of the day. Very popular and most importantly, no changing of the clocks. A big inconvenience for our government, a very costly event." Sunshine Protection Act leaders said they're feeling hopeful the act will be passed with Trump's support behind them. This post is in line with Trump's past comments on this issue, yet he wavered slightly last month, calling it a 50-50 issue during remarks in the Oval Office. At this time, there is no formal decision, but the hearing shows Congress is seriously considering the issue. Jake and Ronnie, one thing both sides are agreeing on is the annoyance with the federal government's inability to decide on a time to stick with.
Teaghan, fascinating stuff, life imitating art there, Ronnie. Got a little Jonah Ryan going on Capitol Hill with the daylight savings time controversy. Anyway, when we return, we'll have details on Trump's newest implementation of immigration policies, how it'll influence incorrectly classified immigrants. Stick with us.
Welcome to an excellent episode of Live from Studio B.
Welcome back to Talking Points. The Trump administration is implementing a new approach in its self-deportation strategy on immigration. Here with updates tonight is Talking Points analyst Megan Acker. Hey, Megan.
Good evening, Ronnie. The Trump administration is putting pressure on the Social Security Administration to falsely classify thousands of immigrants as dead. The push comes after the Department of Government Efficiency announced the termination of parole immigration status for 6,300 people. The administration says the individuals had criminal records or were on the Federal Bureau of Investigation's terrorist watch list, but the administration has not provided evidence for these claims. Paroled status allows immigrants into the United States without citizenship and is typically granted for urgent humanitarian reasons. If incorrectly classified as dead, affected immigrants will lose their Social Security number, making it impossible for them to work legally or receive benefits. This is as vacancies open up for top spots in the Internal Revenue Service. A deal signed between the IRS and Immigration and Customs Enforcement is prompting several high-ranking officials to resign. The document that was signed over the weekend forces the IRS to turn over sensitive information on illegal immigrants to ICE, breaking decades-old practice. The resignations include that of Melanie Kraut, the current commissioner of the IRS. ICE is continuing to grow in scope after reestablishing the Victims of Immigration Crime and Engagement Office. The office runs a hotline to support individuals who have been victims of crimes committed by immigrants. The relaunch was announced in a press conference last week.
And let me be clear, we have enemies living among us. Because of what the Biden administration has done by opening our borders, they have allowed terrorists, people that are on the terrorist watch list, dangerous criminals, gang members, and criminals to enter our country and to perpetuate violence on American families. And that is going to stop now.
The Voice Office helps all victims of immigration-related crimes. This means if someone's victimized by an alien who's in the United States on a visa or who is otherwise here legally, the Voice Office can still help.
Megan, that was a clip of Kristi Noem there. We've been covering the immigration issue all semester here on Talking Points, and of course covering her involvement in it, her cosplaying of wearing bulletproof vests to go on ICE raids. There's so much coming down the pipe about immigration. But today, the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, met with Trump in the Oval Office. Could you give us the update on that meeting?
Absolutely, Jake. So one of the big points of that meeting was Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was a Maryland resident who was mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador. Now, the Trump administration has admitted that this deportation was a result of administrative oversight, but they're pushing back on actually bringing him back from El Salvador. So when the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, was questioned about this by reporters today at the meeting, he had this to say.
Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to be not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? It's always how can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you hear that there, that the president of El Salvador does not intend on returning Garcia. This comes after the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Several members held a rally and were joined by the wife of Garcia and called for his return to the United States. It's worth noting that Garcia does not have any criminal record either in the United States or in El Salvador, where he was from originally. And he has been subject to an order that was given in 2019 that forbids his removal to the country of El Salvador. So that's where this administrative oversight seems to have come from. We also have updates on Mahmoud Khalil, who you'll remember was a student activist in Colombia, who is under risk of deportment right now for his statements against the state of Israel. His attorneys have said that they will appeal after a decision was handed down by a judge saying that he is still eligible for deportation despite having no criminal process.
All right, Megan, thank you so much. Police have arrested the man who allegedly committed arson at the home of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro last night. Cody Balmer told police he tried to beat the governor with a sledgehammer after breaking into the home. He lit a fire that left significant damage to the south wing of the house.
Authorities do not know the specific motive of the crime yet. Shapiro says, quote, "This type of violence is not okay and we have to be better than this," end quote. The man turned himself into authorities and will face charges of assault, terrorism, and attempted homicide.
A new bill has been introduced in Congress that would prevent special government employees from talking to federal agencies that interact with their companies. Lawmakers want a, quote, bright line rule which targets any for-profit company making over $1 billion. Now that would mean that employees like Elon Musk would have to meet the new ethics requirements. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren says she has concerns about Musk's companies unfairly benefiting from his influence on the Trump administration.
Turning to higher education now, Harvard University is rejecting the Trump administration's demands for changes in their admissions policies. If they don't change the policies, the Trump administration is threatening to revoke almost $9 billion in funding. The administration is asking the university to restrict acceptances of international students and review programs that they claim fuel anti-Semitism.
The university on X saying, quote, neither Harvard nor any other private university can allow itself to be taken over by the federal government. Harvard President Alan Garber is calling the demands an attempt to, quote, control the Harvard community.
And coming up on Talking Points, tariff time. We'll break down the chaotic week that happened in the U.S. markets and all around the world. Stick with us.
Rolling.
Sound is speeding.
Can you slow down that, please? This is 28-1.
28-1.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner!
Go. Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. We're the family. Yeah! Oh, I thought you were on my team. Wait.
Welcome back. President Trump last week announced a 90-day pause on the tariffs he implemented on Liberation Day back on April 2nd. A quick reversal on an issue that he hardlined on the campaign trail and, of course, throughout the early days of his administration. Now joining us to tell us about the pause is Talking Points analyst and Central New York local, Drew Matyasik. Hey, Drew.
Thanks, guys. That's right. On a stunning reversal, President Trump went back on his heavy tariffs to allies across the world that ended up tanking the stock market last week. However, after hitting the pause button on those nations, the president decided to up the tariffs on China last week, reaching as high as 125%. Shortly after President Trump lifted these tariffs, the stock market responded by spiking on its highest days since 2008, with the S&P 500 soaring 9.5%. Now, since then, both Republicans and Democrats in the Senate have come together to try and block the president from reinstituting these tariffs, with multiple Senate Democrats joining Republican Rand Paul to nix the president's future levies, and will try to force a vote on it as soon as the Senate returns from their recess next week. Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon is introducing the legislation and says that it would overturn the basis for the president's tariffs. He told Politico, quote, "My colleagues are telling me they want to move ahead. The same trade chaos if you've seen the financial market numbers, but the only thing going up is on the index today is volatility."
Drew, interesting stuff there. So let's stay on that piece of legislation because, of course, there were some surprises amid all the trade and tariff chaos over the past couple of weeks. On Capitol Hill, we saw Senator Rand Paul coming out on the Senate floor and immediately denouncing all of the tariffs that Trump announced right after the quote-unquote Liberation Day. Is there any chance that legislation like that actually gets passed? Do you think Republicans would spin on Trump like that?
I think it's very, very possible. You have a lot of libertarian Republicans in the Senate right now. And not only that, but you have a lot of moderate Republicans in the Senate right now. Republicans like Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Rand Paul. Those are three really solid Republican senators that Democrats can rely on to flip on this basis. And then you have a 50-50 Senate. You only need one more. And, really that can't be too hard to find someone that's too libertarian. Mitch McConnell, there's your fourth. That could flip at 51-49. The problem could be going to the House. That might be a potential issue there because it does have to pass both houses of Congress to be that joint resolution. But I don't think they'll have too much trouble trying to pass that.
Yeah, I mean, you've even had some, hardline Trump allies, walking sop machine, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. No matter how you feel about him, he comes out with some originals. He said, and I said this last week too, a little tariff is like a shot of whiskey, just makes you feel a little bit better, but enough. Too much whiskey will put a goat down. So it's been very interesting. Staying with this now, Drew, there have been insider trading allegations, on Capitol Hill swirling for years, but now with members of the Trump administration. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you have this New York Post article that comes out today accusing Marjorie Taylor Greene of putting thousands of dollars into the stock market right before that Truth Social post came out last Wednesday. You have Donald Trump in the Oval Office with Charles Schwab himself saying, he made so much money yesterday. I made so much money yesterday. It was a great day for the stocks. That, raised some red flags definitely on Capitol Hill. People want to start an investigation now because they think, well, Donald Trump is all of a sudden, he has all his friends in the room. He has all his friends in the Oval Office. They made so much money the day that he just did the sudden 180 that really nobody was expecting. He was so hard on tariffs right before that. He was saying, I don't want to repeal them. I don't want to take them back. All of a sudden, he takes them back, and the stock markets go up for a day.
And I want to stay on that topic of the markets and buying the dip. And, I really appreciate you bringing a market shares graphic on the show today. Of course, that is the child of me, Carson Fowler, and Sean Dempsey. Shout out to those guys on my last show here. But anyway, let's bring it back to the markets here. Obviously, we saw total chaos in the markets last week. What do you think this will be long-term for the markets? Obviously, some of the tariffs are still in place, especially the ones on China. The markets are kind of recovering, but nobody really knows where it's going because Trump doesn't seem to know where it's going.
No one seems to know where it's going. I did a story on it last week where financial experts, they're celebrating that the market was finally saved, still didn't make up to the original index from where Liberation Day was announced. They haven't made up enough ground to really get back to that point. And it's just not stable enough because if President Trump only puts a 90-day pause on it, he still has 125% tariffs on China, itself, which again is one of the biggest, trade partners. I don't want to maybe say partner, but one of the biggest traders with the United States that they have. It's just not enough. He has to really just say, we're done with tariffs. We're done with this trade war. We're going to move forward for what I think this market can get back to being as stable as it once was.
All right, Drew, thanks so much. Our expert on tariffs, we bring him back anytime. This guy knows his stuff.
I'm sure he'll be around for a long time. And Drew,
absolutely.
I want you to watch over the next few years. If these policies make Americans not trust Trump on the economy, that would be the first time that they didn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll have to keep an eye on that.
There.
And when we come back, we'll say our final goodbye. Stick with us.
Welcome to Live from Studio B.
Welcome to another episode of Culturally and Technically Legal.
Previously on Survivor.
Welcome back to the Esports Juice Box, where we break down this week's esports news into digestible sizes for easy consumption.
forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to send those old STEM theories flying past the neighbor's house into outer space. Dare to program something internet-breaking, record-breaking. Dare to blow their minds. Dare to learn the difference between sedimentary and metamorphic rock. Go find those rocks. Dare to keep daring. Dare to STEM. Check out She Can STEM to get started.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Points. We have some sad news for you, or maybe just some bittersweet news.
Yeah.
Today is mine and Ronnie's final show on Talking Points. I spent 4 years on this show. It's definitely helped me with my professional development and has brought me some of my closest friends at college. I could not be more thankful for it, Ronnie.
Absolutely, Jake. I mean, just the improvements that we have seen from ourselves and all the analysts. I mean, I'm so proud of all of them throughout all the semesters. But let's take a look back at some of our first Talking Point segments, Jake, because, you know, why not take a stroll down memory lane?
Oh, the hair is going to be great here.
Jake Morel is at City Hall in downtown Syracuse to preview what we can expect from Walsh's second term. Jake?
Thanks, guys. I'm outside City Hall in downtown Syracuse, where Ben Walsh will continue his tenure as Syracuse mayor after being reelected last week.
Ronnie, what has the body cam footage revealed?
Well, Chile, that body cam video was just released and has had national implications.
Thanks, Teaghan. Yeah, several states are undergoing congressional map changes, including New York, Maryland, and Texas. As you can see here, the Texas and New York redistricting map. But today we will be focusing on Maryland. Now,
analyst Ronnie Parrillo is here. Now, Ronnie, what happened and what has been the political response to this?
Jake, thanks. Well, many of us remember that video from last week of what looked to be a large balloon floating over Montana.
Hi, Jake and Ronnie. Congrats on your final show. You guys have been such influential people in my time at Citrus, and I've loved working with both of you. You guys are going to do amazing things post-grad and be successful no matter what you do. I wish I could be there with you guys today, but I will see you all soon, and congratulations.
Congrats on your final Talking Points. You guys have given so much to this show as reporters and anchors and mentors to so many new members throughout the years. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys have done so much for this station and for this show specifically. I'm so glad I got to work with you guys on this show while I was at Citrus, while I was news director, and then after as a director. It's been such a great experience with you guys.
Hi, Ronnie and Jake. Congratulations on your last Talking Points show ever. You two are some of the most hardworking and professional people I've ever worked with and made my life a lot easier when I was EP. So I can't wait to see what you all do in the future, and I know you're going to do great things.
I am so happy that I've gotten to work with you guys and besides you guys at the station for 3 years now. It has been such a joy. You all have really helped me grow into the anchor that I am today, creating some great advice and tips from you all, and it's been such an honor and a joy these past few years.
Hey, Jake and Ronnie. It feels like just yesterday we were freshmen just starting out, just meeting each other. I can't believe it's been 4 years already and that we're getting ready to graduate. It's been a pleasure and an honor to work with you guys. You guys are some of the most talented reporters, anchors, just people in general that I've ever met.
Jake and Ronnie, congrats on your last show. Jake, you were the first one I ever met from CitrusTV at Admitted Students Day. I've always looked up to you as a mentor ever since. Ronnie, it's been such a pleasure anchoring with you. Your charisma, your energy that you bring to the station is unmatched, and we're really going to miss you both over the next couple years. Good luck, guys.
So kind.
How lucky are we?
How can we give that back to them? You know, it's so nice of everyone to say that. Thank you guys all so much.
How lucky are we? Thank you all so much. This has been, you know, it's being at this station is really the experience of a lifetime. There is nowhere else in the world that students do journalism like this, and it's so important for education and it's so important for experience, but it's also important for relationships like that and relationships like what we have. Like I said, I've met so many of my closest friends here, and that is what I think the biggest takeaway will be for me for the rest of my life from this station.
Absolutely. The growth that people experience, like I said before, is just amazing, but not only professionally, but as friends. Jake, one of my dear friends, it's just been an absolute pleasure to work alongside you. As day reporters for Maddie Stelz's show, spring of, what was that,
Spring of 2022.
We were day reporters.
An incredible on-air cast, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Some of them, you know, I mean, all of them doing great things, but, you know, some of them we will never forget.
Yeah.
We won't forget any of them.
But absolutely, like Ronnie said, it's been such an honor. And also, just with a parting message on Talking Points here, the student journalism is so important. Journalism education is so important. We're entering an age where journalism is more important than ever, whatever you believe. So if you can support student journalism, do so. And don't forget that there are people working really hard to get to places that'll be really important.
Absolutely. That's all the time we have for you on this episode of Talking Points. For the entire Citrus TV News team, I'm Ronnie Parrillo.
And I'm Jake Morel. Have a great night, Syracuse.